Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Hey, what is up, Lock Shoppers? Welcome to a big Thursday edition. CFL picks, some more Olympics coming up. Great to have you with us. Huss with you. Dusty on the road to call some CFL football tonight right here in the Peg. And look who's here for a little Thursday CFL chat. It's Matthew Iwanyk. Matty, what's up? How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Perfect. Just making sure because we know we had that issue before the show. So as long as we're good, I'm excited. It's week 9 in the Canadian Football League. Trey Ford's going to be the starting quarterback as he should have been, for me going into this season. And the Olympics are still going on, so it's all good here. How about you?
I'm loving it. I mean, we all know that in this game, this is the real dog days of summer. So to get the Olympic Games right now, with so much happening in Paris, it's been awesome. You've been locked in or what?
Oh, as much as I can be. Like on the weekend, I set up 3 screens. I had my TV, I had a second TV, and I had a laptop, all going with something Olympics related. At work, I can't do it as much in that type of sense. But until right now, I think the Olympics is always on for me. Right now I can't throw it onto my laptop because I need to have Coolbet up and be looking at Coolbet. But yeah, I'm all in on the Olympics. I always love watching it. I love watching the surfing, love watching the skateboarding. Haven't watched any diving. I usually watch a little bit of diving. Haven't seen any of that. Can't wait for the athletics. It's so much fun. And then there's I don't know if you saw the shooting competition or the pictures of the shooting competition.
Yeah.
And did you see the turkey guy, the guy who finished silver, and just hands in his pocket with nothing and it was amazing.
Listen, it's been awesome. My favorite bit so far, we'll get into this. I miss Rugby Sevens already. And that run by our women's team was so crazy. I mean, to beat France, who's one of the top teams in the world, and then go in. They were a 6-1 underdog at Coolbet for the France game. They were a 9-1 underdog for the Australia game. And then they hung right there with New Zealand, who is the bar when it comes to international rugby. So I absolutely love that. But let's face it, the biggest story around Team Canada has been the soccer. And listen, Matt, that game last weekend against France, honestly, maybe the gutsiest performance of any team I've ever seen in any sport, considering the chaos surrounding them, to come back in France against one of the top teams in the world, the win late. I mean, regardless of what happens the rest of the way, these women have really made a statement. Where are you at on, though? You're a soccer guy. I mean, does it even faze you that the drones were in the air? Is it a big deal?
Okay, one, in soccer, it's not a big deal. Outside of Canada and New Zealand, no one cares. No one in soccer gives a damn about this. We Canadians are making this a much bigger deal than it actually needs to be. No one cares. There was the 2 clips I will go to is Ariel Helwani on CBC interviewed Drogba, and Drogba just laughed at it. And then there was an American player, Tyler Adams, who was on a podcast, I think, this week, and he says everyone's doing this. Everyone's come to agree. Where I have an issue is, why would you use a drone at the Olympics when, France already has tough laws, but it's the most secure place there is? How did you think you were going to not get caught by using a damn drone at the Olympics? That's the issue I have. And also, why are you putting this in an email, Bev Priestman? Why are you outlining in an email on paper the fact that you're cheating and stuff? No, be smarter than that. But beyond that, no, I don't care about this. But I will throw this question back at you, Haas. Do you think our women would have went 3-0 if this story doesn't blow up and come to light? Or is this something that has helped carry them and has fueled them to these 3 victories?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, the way things work. I mean, I don't think they play as desperate against France, needing to score that winning goal late in the game. I mean, if they'd had their win against New Zealand, they got a tie against France, they would have been completely fine with that under normal circumstances in the group stage. So it is absolutely galvanized them. and taking them to it. And I'm sort of with you. Like, I know there's all this hand wringing and pearl clutching on the CBC and everything about that. And listen, like, I know there's people coming at the individuals that are reporting on this, which I think is a little foolish, although whatever. I understand that, to a lot of people, it seems like they're just coming down and crushing our own Canadian athletes when this is happening elsewhere, and that doesn't seem to get mentioned, whatever. But you're exactly right. Like, as much as it is certainly a stain on our federation and, it is a big story, I'm more embarrassed by the level of stupidity that went into trying to pull this off in a regulated Olympic Games airspace, like right off the plane. Like, we look like morons a lot more than we look like cheaters. I would say.
That's maybe the biggest crime.
It's making us all look like a bunch of dummies. But yeah, to your point, listen, I kind of don't think that, we probably would have seen that. But now let me ask you this. You'll be a good person. So we played Germany now.
Yeah.
And apparently France is playing Brazil. And I guess, I don't know if you saw Marta kicked, who's like the top Brazilian player for a long time, kicked her opponent straight in the face and got the straight red in their last match and is going to miss this next game against France. So that's a big, big loss for Brazil. But I mean, as far as Germany goes in a matchup, like, I think normally if we had just won the table, we would have actually been playing Brazil. But I've seen some people that said this might be an even better draw, actually, when it comes back out. I guess we get Germany and then the winner of the United States game in the semis.
Yeah, so it's Canada, Germany. They'll take on the winner of U.S., Japan. On the other side, it's France, Brazil, Spain, and Colombia. Yeah, not having to play France or Brazil, I should say, that's probably a good thing, I guess, to a degree. But I think that's just, I wouldn't even say that fully. Like, they're not Brazil, like, on the men's side. They're not the top in the world. Germany is probably a better overall team than I would say Brazil, especially if Brazil doesn't have Marta in the roster. So I don't know if this is fully the best. I would say, they don't have to take on the current world champs when it comes to Spain unless they get to a final. They won't have to see France again unless they get to a final. But having to take on the Americans in the next round and Germany, who's I think 4th or 5th in the world, it now, like, I don't think there's an easy road, I guess, in the end when it comes to this. So we'll just see if the motivation of the Canadian women is still there, or is this a situation they're going to be drained because of the emotions of getting through. They gave everything they could to get those 3 victories. Are they going to hit a little bit of a wall here because of just how draining that was? And, beating France, it wasn't like they won through an easy 90 minutes. It was that 12th extra minute or whatever it was that sent them, with that victory. So I don't know what to make of what we'll see from them moving forward, because I could see a wall being hit. It's like the Oilers, winning the 3 games to force a Game 7, but then they had nothing left for Game 7. Are women going to have anything left for the knockout stage? But I think the path is difficult either way.
Hey, listen, if they're gonna do it, they're gonna defend their Olympic gold medal. They're gonna have to run the damn table. 6-0 in the tournament.
It'd be like when Tom Brady won the Super Bowl after Deflategate. Roger Goodell having to give him the trophy. And the Patriots fans wanted that. I want FIFA and the IOC have to give those Canadian women the gold after deducting them 6 points. That'd be great. Yeah. Suck it, everyone else.
It would be it would be something. Is the U.S. the favorite still? Are they still sort of the team that everyone else is measured at, or is it a lot closer now amongst the top teams?
I think it's a lot closer now amongst the top teams. Like, I think the Americans have dropped in the ranking. They're not 1 or 2 or anything like that. Does Coolbet have anything for the women right now? They don't have any futures. They don't have the futures for it
right now.
I would go with Spain, partly because they just won the World Cup. So I would think they're right up there. I don't think the Americans are as strong as they once were. I think the rest of the world has caught up with them. But in the end, they are still the Americans. So, and if Canada has to go up against the Americans if they beat Germany, 1, it's just a big rivalry, but it's 2, like, there's still, while we beat them in 2020 at the 2020 Olympics in 2021, I think there's a way to go for the women to be favored against the Americans moving forward.
I'm just pulling up the odds here for the quarters. So over at Coolbet, these are the three-way lines. The U.S. is minus 143 against Japan as the favorite. The draw's 3-1, and Japan's plus 375. Spain, to your point, I mean, they're playing Colombia, who I think was the last team through. Spain minus 263. Draw 4-1. Colombia plus 725. France is minus 156 favorites against Brazil. The draw is 3-1, and Brazil's plus 425. And then the closest game by far, by the odds, is this Canada-Germany game. Germany is the favorite at plus 117. Canada plus 215 to win in reg, and the draw is plus 275. And, you just mentioned how hard they've had to play and to go through. In this stage, this isn't like Copa, right? There's 30 minutes of extra time if they tie at the end of the quarterfinal matchup.
I would think so.
So I mean, you have the potential of having even longer marathons coming up for the Canadian women's team. But I tell you what, at plus 215 in this game, considering everything that they've been through, I'm not betting against them. I'll tell you that.
Well, would you look at draw no bet at plus 135 then?
Yeah, well, the other thing is that I think I would imagine this will get added. But remember how we always had the 2 advance, which is essentially it's the game, but it also includes if it goes to extra time or if it goes to penalties.
Yep.
That'll be one. And I would think that, but just looking at the odds between Canada and Germany, you're probably looking at Canada in and around plus 125, maybe plus 130, and Germany sort of like minus 110, something like that. So I would definitely get on that. These matchups all go on Saturday, 8, 10, 12, and 2 Winnipeg time. So back it up 1 hour for those in Edmonton. Have you watched any of the soccer? Did we not qualify for the men's side?
No. The Olympic qualification is like not a lot of countries get through. Also, it's only under 23 on the men's side, so no one cares. Like, it's not that important of a tournament. The host nation usually actually puts a lot of care into it. But you could I think you could play 3 overagers throughout it. But no one fully cares. And yeah, the Canadian men, I don't know what happened when we didn't qualify, but we didn't get through.
It was unfortunate. The men's side right now, France, to your point, France is the favorite at plus 175. Spain is at 3-1, but I'll be honest, don't bet Spain because I bet them earlier this week and they managed to lose to Egypt. And Egypt is the longest shot of the remaining teams that made it through.
Hey, Argentina, when they won the World Cup, they lost to Saudi Arabia.
I'll never forget it. We were in the square in Doha watching it live on the big screen. That was a scene. That was quite a scene, a cultural experience, shall we say, to see the Saudis gather together, beating the incredible Argentinians, and then Argentina went away. By the way, quick update for those of you that are watching with us live. Hell of a battle right now going on at Roland Garros between our guy, FAA, Felix Auger-Aliassime, and Casper Ruud from Norway. Felix won the first set and was up a break in the second set, gave it back up, and then epic tiebreaker. I think it ended up 11-9 or 10-8 for Ruud. So they're now playing into the third and deciding set on serve right now. Early on, Felix has been good. He's in the semifinals as well in the mixed side too. So
took out Medvedev.
People don't want it. Well, and he'd never beaten Medvedev before either. So it was a heck of a matchup for Felix. So
we've got the surfing men's and women's quarterfinals happening right now too in Tahiti. I love the surfing. It's just so much fun.
I thought the surfing was done.
I have no idea. It's at the quarterfinals happening right now. I don't know what was before. I thought there was only one surfing medal for men's and women's, but there's an event still going on.
Huh. Did you see that picture, that Brazilian guy? I mean, that is the most swag photo of all time. I mean, the guy crushes this wave, just jumps up, perfect posture, straight up, number one in the air as he flies through it. That might end up being the picture of the Olympics by the time it's all said and done.
Okay, so yeah, that was just still like round 3 and stuff. So he was celebrating just maybe getting through or something, and then there was postponement, I'm assuming because of weather. So we're into the quarterfinals and / round 3. Round 3 for women, quarterfinals of men. Quarterfinal for women's is tomorrow, and then Saturday is both the semis and the final of the surfing in Tahiti, which is just amazing.
You know, we should also quickly do a little golf update because we hammered our picks yesterday. And I think we're looking pretty good right now. How about Hideki Matsuyama? I mentioned Hideki as a bit of a dark horse yesterday. Not that dark. 8 under par, 63 today for Hideki. He's on top of the leaderboard. Our guy Xander Schauffele, the defending gold medalist, he is at 6 under. Shout out to everyone that got on our partner parlay. We need Xander to get a medal for that one. And that's a heck of a start. Xander in second at 6 under. And then Joachim Niemann, Emiliano Grillo, Tom Kim as well, 5 under par. Alex Noren. Okay, here's a big group at 4. This is pretty tight here. Noren, Fox, Fleetwood, Straka, who we need to be top 20 for the parlay. Scotty Scheffler, Valimaki, EVR, and John Rahm are all in at 4 under par. And then a group at 3, including Canadian Corey Connors, top Canadian. I see Rory McIlroy.
Yep.
Ludwig Oberg, who we need top 10 for the parlay. So that's a nice start for where we came through. Alejandro Tosti from Argentina. And then Guido Migliozzi. Guess what country he's from, Matt? Guido Migliozzi.
I have no idea.
I'm surprised you didn't guess Italy because that's a pretty Italian-sounding name. Italy.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Carlos Ortiz. And then bronze medalist who won the 7-way playoff at last Olympics, CT Pan at 2 under, along with Jason Day, Puig, Mito Pereira. Nick Taylor from Canada finished 1 under right now. So he's in a big group, tied at 29th. No one really played. Well, a few guys maybe played their way out of the tournament. Camilo Villegas, Minwoo Lee. Look at Wyndham Clark. The fact that he's there over Bryson DeChambeau is an absolute scam. I get that there are rules for the tournaments, Live, PGA, but for the Olympic team, you should have been able to pick your best guys. Bryson was that guy. He's not there. And Wyndham Clark has struggled. All barn rats there. Kira Detch, Appy Barnrat. Matt Fitzpatrick, a rough start, 2 over. Benny on +1. Shane Lowry even. I know Dusty was on him. He's had a nice run. Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland right there with Nick Taylor. So that's your round 1 update. Things are going to get going again today at around 2 a.m. Central Time. And by the time you get up tomorrow, the event is probably going to be done. We'll see who's moving on. I guess everyone moves on to the weekend. This is a no-cut event because of the smaller field. So there you go. There's the Olympic golf update. Nice start for the lock shop. We'll keep our fingers crossed. One other Olympic thing we've got to get to. The basketball. What have you thought about our first 2 games, Maddie? And the position that we're in. We win against Spain. I think we're pretty much assured of being on the opposite side of the draw as the United States.
Is that how it works?
And I mean,
because it's very they go into
reseed.
pots. Yeah, they go into pots and stuff.
They reseed after the rounds. So essentially, as long as one is on one side and you're 2 or 3, you wouldn't face them until the last game. And you get one of those 3 seeds by winning your group. So I think there's a good chance, Canada would project to play if it's France that wins that pool, though France has been a little sketchy. I mean, they've won, but they haven't won by a lot. They've got Germany coming up today. And Germany actually is a minus 159 favorite against France. So maybe it won't be Wemby and the gang. Bottom line for Canada is they had that scare late in the Greece game. They came back. They survived Australia, who's probably the top team in the group. Now they get Spain as 9.5-point favorites tomorrow. And then it's time to go. I'm really excited about these games moving forward. And I mean, a potential, just a crack at the Americans with nothing to lose in a gold medal game would be one of the biggest events of the Olympics for sure for Canadians.
Oh, we'd all be locked in for that one. And I want that because it's just if Canada could keep it close going into the fourth quarter, you never know what could happen. It's about just staying within a few points heading into that last quarter because all you need is a couple of Americans to go a little cold, get on that one little hot streak, get on that run, and it might lead to Canada winning it. And then the FIBA rules, things are different where, not having a big is going to hurt, and it's still going to hurt for Canada where we don't have those major bigs, but you could get away with a little bit more defensive, handwork and stuff, and we saw that. So I'm liking what we've seen out of the Canadians. I think they're showing that they were a medal favorite for a reason. As long as they don't fall on the same side as the Americans, a medal should be there. That's what I've seen so far, is that they should at the very least be able to, I would think, get to the gold medal game, but at the very least be in a bronze medal game and go win it. I don't right now feel like after seeing what we've seen from Canada that outside of the Americans, there shouldn't be anyone that terrifies Canada, where we're going in and we would be going as the underdogs, having to go up against Joker if we have to. He and himself, the points difference from when he was on the court against the Americans to when he was off was ridiculous. Like he kept them completely in that. He'd be difficult to stop, but I still think the Canadians would be the favorites going into that. So I've liked what I've seen through 2 games, and hopefully they could take care of business against Spain tomorrow, and hopefully not have to see the Americans until a potential gold medal game, which, as you said, would be ridiculous to watch.
Here, as far as the odds go for the men's tournament in the futures, they do have a winner without USA. So essentially, silver medal. Canada is the favorite for that at plus 185. Germany is number 2 at plus 250. Serbia is 3-1. And then France plus 450. And the French number has really dropped off since the start of the tournament, because I remember looking at that, and these numbers were, I think, plus 225 and plus 220 for Canada and France at the beginning. So France has come back big time. Canada has improved their number, or it's gotten lower a little bit from a betting standpoint. And now you've got Germany and Serbia right in the mix. And you know what? Australia, who Canada just beat by 8, just right behind France at plus 45. They've got Josh Giddey and a few other NBAers. But Spain not really in the mix. So, I mean, the expectation is that the Canadians will go in and jump on that. I'll probably will be taking the points. I took Greece in the first game thinking that might be difficult for them to maintain on Giannis, and they did get into foul trouble early on. They managed to get through it. They did not cover the number. They did cover against Australia, and we'll be looking for them to cover the number and win by double digits against the Spaniards tomorrow. But top 3 for Canada, so to get a medal, is minus 143. But listen, I think right now, with the way that the team looks and the way things are shaping up, I think Canada plus 185 to get to the gold medal game and play the United States is a pretty nice look. Right now to bet, you can't really just bet USA to win, but you can bet the winning group, which is essentially a USA bet at minus 1250. So let's ride with our Canadian team. Let's see what we can do against Spain, and then get ready to roll through the bracket.
It might be tough to be in that top pot because I don't know how they classify it. So to be in the top pot, the U.S. will be in there, and it comprises of the 2 top-ranked first-place teams from the group phase. I don't know how they determine who's the best if it's not points. Like if Canada wins, they'll be 3-0. Germany, France, somebody's going to win. They'll also be 3-0. I don't know how they determine who's better than the other. If it goes to point differential, Germany's already plus 33. And Canada's
they're
plus
2-0?
And they're 2-0. Canada's plus 17. So Canada's going to have to beat Spain by a nice margin, I would have to think, to try to if that's the.
But the thing is that no matter what, they'll if they're not 2, they're 3.
Which then goes to they go to pot E.
Pot E?
There's 4 pots there and 2 teams per pot. I'm just reading this right now. Pot D comprises the top 2 ranked first place teams from the group phase. Pot E comprises of the lowest ranked first place team and the best ranked second place team. So I don't know how they decide who's better than the other.
What happens when you go to these pots? Because, I mean, they're not
It'd be
playing
a draw.
against each other.
It'd be a draw. Like, you'd get drawn out of it.
So you go on to
So in the top part of the group, it's F1 will take on E1, D1 will take on G1, G2 will take on D2, E2 will take on F2.
This is confusing.
It's very confusing.
Just give us the draw here, folks. I don't know. We've had some people on. They've assured me that if Canada wins 3-0, they will be on the other side as the U.S. I'm going to just roll with that and assume that that is the case. Because
I hope so.
It would seem strange that either one of the... I guess if USA is number 1, it would seem strange that they would meet either of the other 3-0 teams in the semifinal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree. But they're doing pots, which means they're drawn into stuff. The reseeding and things. This isn't like a soccer tournament where it's already predetermined. The winner of this group goes right here, and they plan that. So when I see pots, I see draws coming where they'll pull a ball out of a bowl or something and put things in spots. And so I guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll see how this plays out. And it's been a long time since we had to deal with this stuff, so we're going to learn.
Yeah, I love the pots when we're doing like the draw for the World Cup and we
great.
get to watch that. This is maybe a little different. All right, let's get to the CFL. It is Thursday. We got a big one tonight in Winnipeg, Bombers and the BC Lions. And as we said yesterday, we thought, geez, this line, it looks like it might move from 3.5. Like the money line from yesterday really hasn't moved at all, barely. BC's still minus 200, and the Bombers are now minus 163. They were minus 160. But yesterday, the line was 3.5. BC at minus 116. Bombers at minus 104 at the 3.5 line. It went to 4, and now it's at 4.5. And to be honest, I think this is maybe a little bit more accurate of a line based on what's left of the Bombers right now and BC coming off the bye. Should be a good game, though. I mean, this is we spent a lot of time on WST this week talking about it, Maddie. This is crunch time for Winnipeg, and what a terrible time to be playing on the shortest week of the season against a rested Lions team. And then it's a home and home against BC. I mean, the Bombers could be staring 2-8 if they can't find a way to beat BC over these next couple games.
How much does Lucky Whitehead factor into this? Does he elevate this roster at all, or is like Wilson has been a nice little addition to that receiving core? He's been getting a lot of balls, but you still don't have Schoen, you still don't have Lawler. Wolotarski, I don't believe is playing today.
No, he's out. They didn't sign Rashid Bailey. Patty Neufeld's out on the offensive line. That's been a real issue for them. So. They're up against it. But I mean, man, they've been basically like the Elks. I mean, finding ways to beat themselves. I mean, penalties, turnovers. I mean, to give up for a CFL defense to give up 6 points in a game.
Yeah.
And your offense to put up 400 and outgain your opponent 2-1 and lose is almost impossible. Like, I think you'd have to go back a long time in the CFL to find that last scenario like that. Outgain a team 2-1, give up only 6 points, and not win. I mean, it's hard to do. And the combination of the turnovers, Sergio Castillo saving his worst game of the season for a tough spot. It was ugly. So listen, no one is expecting much from the Bombers tonight. That's often when they come up with their biggest performances.
That's what I was going to say. Like, to me, this feels like the Bombers' backs are completely against the wall. And this is with the back-to-back, and they're home in this one. I could easily see the Bombers going out, getting the victory tonight. And then, the Lions being upset next week, taking care of business at home against the Bombers. Like, I could see that split coming up here. It's been a tough one this season because it's just they're 2 wins, that's it. But it's hard to bet against the Bombers because of just what we've seen over the last 4 CFL seasons, how good this team has been. But then that's a little bit disrespecting the BC Lions. If this was like a field goal, I probably would have taken the Lions to cover. This having to be a touchdown. Right off the bat, I do feel like the Bombers, at the very least, if they lose this football game, even though it's going to be close. The last 2 times that these 2 teams met, it was a close game too. Can't remember what the final was. It was tight.
They played earlier this year. It was 24-22.
Yeah.
That was a little deceiving because BC went into victory formation on like the 1 if they wanted to put it in. But it was a single-digit game. It was a single-digit game. They could have easily put them up. Listen, I'm with you. I'm going to take the points. I mean, a home dog like the Bombers, desperate, level of urgency. It's a terrible spot for them. But we'll ride with it. And I know Dusty's loving the dogs this week, so he's taking the Bombers too. He just said the number is too big. Here's interesting. We expect Cody Fajardo back for the Montreal Alouettes, not the miracle man of last week, Davis Alexander. And this line has gone from 3.5 to 4 to 5 now with Montreal in Hamilton. And I'm on the Ticats here.
Are you?
Think that you know what? Listen, I don't. They shouldn't have been 0-6 in the first place. I mean, the receivers were not catching balls in the first 2 weeks. They could have easily won both of those games early on. They seem to really get, and listen, maybe a trip to Edmonton is exactly what the doctor ordered for teams to get things going. But Levi Mitchell is actually playing quite well. And they're a team like the Bombers where they don't have any wiggle room. They have to win football games right now. I think winning their last 2 games, they've got some real positive momentum going into this one. I don't expect Montreal to go in and wax them. So if you're going to give me 5 points with a Hamilton team that's feeling it on offense right now, I will take it. We haven't seen Cody in a while. Listen, I think the Alouettes are more likely than not to win this football game, but it wouldn't surprise me for Hamilton to pull it off at home. Anyways, I'm going to take the 5 with Hamilton. Where are you at on this one?
Yeah, if Cody Fajardo was playing, I would easily be taking the 5 for the Montreal Alouettes because I like the Alouettes, but he's still not playing. He's getting closer, but he's not ready to go.
Is that for sure? They said he's not? So
he's not even. No, the depth chart came out. It was Alexander with Evans and Morgan. So I think I saw a report earlier this week that he's on the 1 game. Cody Fajardo, they pulled him, but he's on the 1 game. He's not fully ready to go. So I would expect. Also, I think if you're Montreal, I don't think you need this game necessarily as much. So you could take your time a little bit with Cody. But I really liked what Alexander did in relief of Caleb Evans, and what he was fantastic, and he was able to move some things. He had nice chemistry with Reggie White there. 5 is a difficult one though. That's a lot, and yeah, I'm probably Hamilton's got to be feeling good. It's not like I could look at Hamilton and say they just beat Edmonton. They did go beat Toronto, and Toronto, I still don't fully know what to make of the Argos this season, but that was an impressive win for the Ticats. And you're right, with the way the season has gone, Hamilton, should have probably an extra win or 2 this season. I like Montreal to still win this football game, but I think Hamilton keeps it closer, and I would take the 5 at home.
Yeah, I'm on the 5 at home, and to be honest, now that it's going to be interesting to see what the Davis Alexander has when people know that they're planning for him and have a little bit of tape on him going forward. Knowing that he's out, I'm going to say this right now, gang. I'm going to put a little something on the Ticats money line, not as part of a parlay, but plus 180. But I love the plus 5, especially now that we've got some clarity on Cody Fajardo's situation, who was back at practice all week, but obviously they've got the luxury of being a little. They will go as far as he takes them this year, with all due respect to Mr. Alexander. Better safe than sorry. Okay, let's get to this Elks Riders game. Trey Ford. Ford time.
My boy.
Let's circle the wagons. It's Elks time. Does the turnaround start now?
I'm the president of the Trey Ford fan club, I keep saying, because I've been defending this guy for a long time. I'm worried because I feel like there'll be a lot of extra pressure because of right off the bat, it's going to be, this guy, he's going to turn this season around. And the Elks are a bad football team. Let's be clear about this team right off the bat. Defense isn't good enough. Boris Beatty has been a terrible addition so far this season. He has not been consistent enough. They're not getting the returns that they maybe would have thought they were going to get from Javon Leake. And offensively over the last couple of weeks, they haven't done it. And now Jarius Jackson comes out and says McLeod Bethel-Thompson, he was banged up. He might have been a little hurt, which I don't buy, because if he was hurt, then don't play him. Like, especially when you have Trey Ford. I think that's being used as a little bit of an excuse to shelter the fact that McLeod Bethel-Thompson's getting benched for Trey Ford here. But what we saw to Trey Ford last week was excitement. We saw the entire Elks team almost elevate a little bit. And you could come at me and say that, yeah, the Ticats, they started playing a prevent defense. Well, on one of those special plays that Trey Ford had last week, it was a full blitz. The Ticats came at him. It wasn't a prevent. He escaped, and then he found the open receiver. Trey Ford, with his offensive line, it's not good enough. And when it collapses, MBT has nothing he can do. Trey Ford could run and make something happen. With that, it opens up the run a little bit. Now, Kevin Brown's hurt, but Javon Leake did some nice things last week in place of Kevin Brown. We saw him go to Saskatchewan last year and have some magic. Now, this Riders defense is really good, and this is going to be a tough test for the Edmonton Elks. And almost like Trey Ford's being thrown to the wolves a little bit here with how good the Riders defense has been to start this season. But the talent of Trey Ford is something else. And he's found a way to get victories. He's found a way to move the ball down the field. And at 5.5 points, I think Trey Ford finds a way to make this closer. I probably would like the Elks to win this one, actually. I feel like there's that just extra jump in the step of this team with Trey Ford as the starting quarterback. Like, here's a guy that's QB1, and yesterday after practice was running the stairs at Commonwealth Stadium. After practice. Like, this guy's ready to go. I spoke to him before the season started. He thinks he's faster this season than he was last year. And even to the prevent, from last week, how many times even in a prevent does a quarterback go 3 for 3 in terms of touchdown drives? Like, there's something there to this offense. It does change quite a bit when he's out there. So if you're saying I get a Trey Ford offense with 5.5 points, I'm taking that all day. Let Trey cook.
I'm on the other side here. I'm less of a believer in Mr. Ford, at least at this point. We know he's going to end up on a highlight reel at some point.
Yeah.
He'll do some special things that'll get people out of their seats or go, wow, did you see that? I wonder whether there'll be a few, wow, did you see that on some other decisions, on some things that end up on the other side. This is a very, for your first start.
It's tough.
To go into Saskatchewan playing, the Rider defense, I think, is elite. They're winning games on the back of their defense and just not making mistakes on offense right now. I'm taking Saskatchewan -5.5. Ford might be good enough to generate a wicked backdoor cover in garbage time or late, but I think that this is going to be a tough situation for Trey Ford to come in. And I do wonder, it is a team game. I wonder where the heads are at of a lot of other guys on that team right now, considering what's taken place through 7 games.
And with that, as soon as he went into the lineup on last game, you saw a different team. You saw a jump almost in the step of both sides of the ball, offense and defense. You saw a change in their attitude almost in a good way. Like, even the defense, which had a poor game. And again, the Ticats, the game was well in hand, but the defense came out immediately and got a 2-0. They forced a fumble. They were playing for Trey Ford. And that's where, I don't know, Trey Ford, even in last week, he was focusing on the pass. He wasn't focusing on the run. And this franchise has, over the last 2.5 seasons, only won 8 football games. 5 of them was with Trey Ford as the starting quarterback. This guy has gone out and won football games with some bad Elks teams too. He's a young quarterback. There are going to be mistakes. There are going to be some rough patches for him, but he also can do some magical things that, that against the Bombers last year in his first start, they got up 22-0. Good things can happen when Trey Ford is out there. And I don't know, it opens up the run. It opens up the pass, and he could run. This offense is much different. So I understand everything you're saying, but it's Trey Ford,
mentioned
baby.
That
it's Trey Ford, baby.
The 22-0 lead against the Bombers was the greatest live betting opportunity of the 2023 CFL season, if you're able to get in on that. Hey, listen, I hope for your sake you're right, because that green and gold post-game show on Edmonton Sports Talk will be must listen to if you're doing a victory lap with an hour and a half of I told you so's after Trey Ford goes in and beats the Riders coming up. Final game, and this is the one that's had the most movement.
I hate
this
one.
Opened up as Calgary, I think, -1. It's now Calgary -3.5. And Dusty and I were texting. I was getting Dusty's picks. He's on all the dogs this week, and he said he was going to take Calgary. And I took Calgary at -1. It's a little different story when we're talking about 3.5. He said he thinks these teams play close games. The Argos defense is pretty good. To me, I just think Calgary's a much better team at home. Like, individually betting this game, I would not be picking Calgary at 3.5. As I said, I've already got them at 1. But I don't have a lot of faith after what I saw from the Argonauts last week. And Calgary got embarrassed in Ottawa. They're the biggest Jekyll and Hyde team. They've been perfect at home. They've been brutal on the road. So I think, gun to my head, I'll still take Calgary in this game. But I'm a lot more nervous with it being at 3.5. And that's part of the reason why Dusty's on the other side taking the points in this one now that we're at 3 plus the hook.
See, and I want to just stay away from this game. I don't know any, like, both of these teams, you're right on Calgary, Jekyll and Hyde, but I feel like the Argos are the same type of thing that I don't know what to make of this team. They start the season off by beating the BC Lions, a big win. They go out, beat the Elks. They then lose a couple games to the Owls and the Roughriders, but then they go beat the Owls, and you're like, okay, well, who are they? And then they lose to the Ticats, but then they beat the Bombers, but they also shouldn't have beat the Bombers. If Strevler makes that third down conversion, the Bombers are going to win that football game, and I don't know what to make of the Toronto Argonauts. I don't know what to make of the Calgary Stampeders. So for me, I'm going to have to go with the tiebreaker, and that's the Stamps win at home. Now, is winning at home enough for 3.5 points, though? That I don't know. Like, this is where I would, if I was like, I would just stay away from this. We have our picks that we do between EST and WST. That's where I'll make a decision on this one. But, you know, gun to my head, I'm taking the Argos at 3.5 points. If it was down to 1.5, probably taking the Stampeders in that one. But where it is right now, 3.5, I am taking the Argos. But this is a game, it's the two teams that I feel like we don't know who they are this season. They are the biggest, most difficult teams to analyze and judge, and they're coming to meeting each other. Because, like, last week, I thought Calgary was going to be able to beat Ottawa, you know, and instead they get absolutely decimated by the Red Black. So I truly don't know what make of either of these two teams.
Who do you like to win the game?
Probably Calgary because of that home record. But that -189, don't really like that.
No, exactly. And that's why I'm playing. Like, would we like Calgary if it was under a field goal? If it was 2.5, or if it was back to 1.5?
1.5, I would.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Calgary -1.5. Elks, as I said, I'm taking the Riders on my pick. Dusty likes the points. I think we get a safer number. I think we're going to get 2 more points and take this to +7.5.
Okay.
I can co-sign on Elks +7.5. Hamilton +5.5. Then I guess the question is, do we want to put in the Bomber game? Or maybe we'll leave the Bomber game out and we'll just go with those 3. And then
would you feel comfortable with an over/under for that game?
For the Bomber BC?
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm fine with taking the points. I'm just thinking that if we put this 3-gamer together
I see what you're
starting
saying.
on Friday, then we give people, like, tonight's game is not in the mix. And I think Dusty will co-sign with Calgary -1.5.
So right now, Calgary at 3.5, Edmonton at 5.5. So there'll be changes there, and Hamilton at +5. That's +584 on Coolbet. So I'd assume it'd be something pretty similar to that, and then that little boosting that comes.
Yeah, well, listen, we're going to be getting a worse number on Edmonton and Calgary, but as I said, they'll boost it. So
Calgary would be a better number.
Probably. Well,
no, it'd be worse. No, sorry. Yes, you're right. I see that.
Yeah, we're sort of buying 2 points on either side, but I think the boost will make up for some of that.
So +4.
So let's try and get a winner. Let's try and get a winner today. So I'll send this into Patty. So we'll throw this up in the exclusives for a little partner parlay. Hamilton +5.5, Elks +7.5, Calgary -1.5, and then for the Bomber game, I'll do just a WST exclusive. So we'll take the Bombers. Geez, do we want to really go for it and take the win? We'll take the Bombers +4.5. We'll take Caleros over, what's his total? 271. We'll say 260 plus for Zach, 260 plus in the air. And I'm thinking for Brady, like the rush yards is 69.5 for Brady Oliveira. You know what we'll do? We'll make a combined rushing and receiving of over 100.
He's been excellent.
100 plus combined. And the Bombers. So I'm going to throw that over to Pat, and we will get that up. Listen, we've just got a couple minutes left, but anyways, those will be in the exclusives shortly or later on this afternoon. Because I am gone, and thanks again for holding it down with Pat tomorrow, I promised the guys we would get to SummerSlam picks. It is up right now. And the one thing I'll say to you, gang, we're going to go through, I'll go through these odds right now. Often these wrestling lines change significantly. So if there's a match that you sort of don't mind, but the number's just so big, just wait on it. Here we go. For instance, Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley for the World Championship, and for Dominic Mysterio. I think a lot of people think that Dom's going to turn on Rhea and run with Liv. That's why Liv's a minus 1,000 favorite. I guess SmackDown might change things a little bit, so check the lines before and after the show on Friday night. I do like Liv Morgan. That's a number that I just couldn't stomach. Maybe you can put that in a parlay or something like that. But there's a few other closer matchups. World Heavyweight title, Damian Priest versus Gunter. I think Gunter's the guy. It's minus 333 right now. Priest is plus 220. Be nice to get a bit better of a number on that, although I'm not sure. I think that the smart money is that Gunter's going to be winning that one. One of the closest matchups is the WWE Women's Championship, Bayley versus Nia Jax. Bayley's plus 150. Nia's minus 213. I do kind of like Nia. I think she's ready for a bit of a push, and she obviously works with the belt just with her size. 213 is not too bad for that one. I'll be honest, I was a little surprised to see where it was just because she hasn't had that profile lately. But as they say, I do sort of lean Nia Jax at plus 213. Logan Paul's going up against LA Knight. LA Knight, tons of fans, has lost these big matches in the past. Logan Paul's had that belt for a while. Certainly seems like the book thinks that LA Knight's going to win at minus 500. I don't mind. I've kind of won on Logan Paul in the past. I'm probably staying away from that one, or maybe putting a little something on LA Knight. Braun Breaker seems to be on a rocket ship. They certainly think so. Minus 1429. Sami Zayn at plus 600. Although Sami has won when people have expected. He's won as an underdog in the last couple of big events. But it certainly does seem, the way the shows have been working, that they're looking at Braun as being the next guy. Cody minus 5,000 against Solo Sikoa. That's going to be something that just sets up the next stage of the bloodline feud. So I think that's a stay away. And then the closest odds on the entire one: CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. Seth Rollins is the ref. CM Punk's plus 130. Drew McIntyre's minus 182. I can't stand CM Punk. I will not be supporting him. Seth hates him. Drew hates him. But for some reason, he still has a lot of fans, and this is one that really could go either way. It's an intriguing storyline. That being said, I'm going to take Drew McIntyre in this one. But that line has changed. Drew was over 2 yesterday. It's come down a little bit. These are definitely fun things, even if you're not going to bet on them. But if you do follow it, you'll be watching SummerSlam. Check back a couple times beforehand and just see how these numbers have changed. And you know what? I may even put together a little parlay with a few of my favorites and send it over to the guys. So check out the exclusives for that. Maddie, great stuff as always. Thanks again for holding it down with Pat for the next couple of days. I will be back on Wednesday of next week. Dusty's doing the Holinka all week. Yep. So Matt, it's the Matt and Pat show for the next couple of days. I'll be back on Wednesday, and we'll do it again a week from today, getting ready for the next week in the Canadian Football League.
You bet. Enjoy the extra long weekend for yourself. And what's coming up on WST?
Ken Weeb's going to join us. We'll get the latest off-season, talk about this football game tonight. John Hodge from 3 Down Nation. And one of the girls from our silver medalist rugby sevens team is going to join me from Paris as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, starting it up in less than 5 minutes over at the WST channel. Pop by.
Beautiful. Enjoy. And that'll wrap up Lock Shop. We got 2 guys in goalie here on Edmonton Sports Talk. So have a good one, everyone.
Thanks, Maddie.
And we'll chat with you soon.